Is this any good? I don't know. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea, and in today's video I'm going to check in about a bunch of things. I've been reading a lot, and I'm also getting ahead for a few things in the future because I have just entered a 2-week vacation. And that means I get to read a lot more and I get to explore more places in Toronto. And I've decided this vacation to not go anywhere, not do anything other than try to catch up on a lot of things that I find overwhelming, like cleaning my space, reorganizing my bookshelf, and steaming all of my shirts and dresses, and when I have free time to just try to go outside more. Unfortunately, we've had this incredible heat wave where it's kind of a heat warning alert to not go outside. But I got a chance to go to the lake because I really like looking at the pirate ship. Is one of my favorite activities to do. And around that area, there's also one of my favorite bookstores, which is called Nautical Minds, and it has a nautical themed selection basically, where all of the books inside are either novels, nonfiction works, and even kind of very technical navigation type of things for people who are actually out either on the lake or out at sea, I guess. It's very technical in a way that I don't really understand. I mean, I wish I could sail or navigate myself. I've never made it that far. I also got a chance to go to a few neighborhood bookstores. There's the one with the coffin bookshelf that has only weird fiction and vampire fiction in the coffin, and a lot of books there actually. I go there pretty often. That's one of my favorite bookstores, and exploring different venues and seeing what's around. I also got a chance to go to my favorite science fiction bookstore in the city. I always like to check out their vintage selection and see what they have, and it's always nice too to see books that I've reviewed in the past when they were ARCs and that I've been quoted in myself. Like it's kind of nice to just feel like I'm a part of it. And I guess that's kind of what I want to talk about too, is that lately I feel like I finally have been a little bit reintegrated into the bookish sphere. I've lost a lot of friends on BookTube since I started because I took a 2-year break, other friends took breaks, some people left forever. And for a really long time, I wasn't really sure what I even liked to read. And lately, I've just kind of decided to kind of blindly put out videos about things that I genuinely enjoy without caring too much about any prizes or any classics or labels or whatever. And then the algorithm kind of fed me a lot of people that are similar to me. And I feel like I found a group of friends and people who are a lot like me. And I've been watching a lot more of their videos and connecting with them. I'm going to have readathons with some of them. I'm going to join their challenges. We're going to create some of our own. I do have a very exciting event happening in November, so that's pretty cool. I look forward to it. I'm probably going to announce it in October, but it's going to be, instead of Nonfiction November, I'm going to do this thing instead. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. Don't worry, it will be very much a vibe that you'll understand because it's something I've already been working on. And I've been invited to a few live streams, and this has been completely new to me. So the very first live stream was actually kind of late at night for me, and I had to really push myself to stay awake through it. I'm kind of an early bed goer. So my first live stream was on Chris's channel from Liminal Spaces, and Virgil has a channel called Literally Books. And together they do these lives where they invite a guest, or they sometimes just have trivia games or hangouts. And their collab is called Literally Liminal. And I was the guest on their 8th episode. That live stream is still on Chris's channel, so you can watch it anytime. I'll link it down below. It's pretty awesome. I got to talk to people. I was really scared because I never know what I'm like live. I tend to be a bit punchier. I make a lot of jokes when I'm with people, and when I'm by myself, I'm a lot more quiet, I guess. But when I get in a crowd or with people, I tend to get I don't know, a little different, I guess. And after that live, Roy from the channel Roy Reads Anything invited me to a cozy morning coffee reading check-in on his channel, and I did that this past Saturday, so I can link that video down below as well. Now I am going to try to get this video up by tonight, and today is Wednesday, so tomorrow morning I'm going on a different live with Chris from Liminal Spaces, and we are going to have a gory face-off. So what this means is we're going to show the books that we have that have either been illustrated by Edward Gorey or have the cover illustration by Edward Gorey, or anything Gorey related. Chris said that he collects a lot of Gorey stuff, and I put out a short where I showed off some of my Gorey things, and I think it's gonna be fun. And in these, usually, like, you know, we chat and talk about books as well, so I'm gonna link it down below, because you know, if you want to join in tomorrow during the live, that'd be awesome. But if you can't make it and you want to watch it later, it will still exist on the internet. I've also been really tuned into other people's live streams lately, especially my friends who went to Pulp Fest, which is something I really regret missing, but it's in Pittsburgh. And yeah, I guess this year I didn't go to Worldcon, which is something I've done in the past, and I think that's happening right now. And a lot of my bookish friends who stopped making YouTube videos are at Worldcon. So yeah, I feel so strange, just kind of missing out on all these experiences. I'm also one of the few people who's in Canada, so I've been venturing off in different bookish spaces and getting new books and new things, and I'm really excited to share all of this with you. And now that I have some time, I might have some energy to film and talk about these things. But now let me tell you about what I have been reading because of all of this and some of my previous reading goals. So the first book that I found by accident at work, I have this collection of folios in my office, and I came across this book called A Month in the Country by Carr. And I know that this is a classic, and it's a very small book. Like, I read it in 2 sittings. It is such a quiet classic. It's the only way I can describe it. It's somewhat memorable and forgettable at the same time. There's just something about being in it that's very comforting and nice, and maybe you can talk about it in a calm and peaceful way. Nothing stands out. Follow this character who has recently come home from being a soldier in the war, and he's been called into this very small town, or in the middle of pretty much nowhere, to work on a mural in a church. And he makes a lot of friends this way, and he meets somebody else who's working in the graveyard, and this young woman who's talking about things in town, and he himself is working on this mural that's been damaged, and he's trying to preserve it and restore it. It is very gentle, and because it's kind of taking place in this church, he's also kind of contemplating about spirituality and religion and faith. It's really nice. I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for kind of like a pause, like a little break, away from heavy action-packed things. I then decided to tackle my reading goal, which was to read more books that feel like this. This was the vibe I set for myself last year when I made my long-term reading goals. And one of the big recommendations on this list for this vibe is H. Rider Haggard. So I recently acquired this book, and this has 3 books in it: King Solomon's Mines, She, and Alan Quatermain. And I read King Solomon's Mines in the past week. It was so much fun, and there's something kind of cozy vintage about it, because you can tell how many things in mainstream media have been inspired and have drawn on these books, because these books came out before Indiana Jones and before all of the sort of adventure classics. So you can tell that this was kind of a staple of inspiration for all of these books. Now, I like to read along in the text and have an audiobook going so that I'm tuned in using 2 senses. The audiobook for this, which I highly recommend, is read by Toby Stephens. And if you don't know who Toby Stephens is, he is the son of Dame Maggie Smith, Professor McGonagall, but he's also an actor in his own right, and he played Captain Flint in the TV show Black Sails, which is my favorite show of all time. And if you've been on this channel long enough, you know that, because I bring it up as often as I can. So to have his voice in my ear reading to me this book was just perfection. And I'm probably gonna do it again because it was that much fun. This book is about Alan Quatermain, who's called upon by an expedition leader and a captain, and they need his help to find this treasure trove in King Solomon's mountains or mines. One of the people who calls upon him also lost his brother in a previous expedition aiming for the same place. And he has to think about it, you know, because first of all, they could die. So he has to make some decisions and some choices, and he gives them a list of things. Like, first of all, if we die, this has to happen, give so-and-so money, do this. It's kind of interesting that our main character who's telling us the story is preparing for death early on. Now, you know I love a good map, so it was kind of nice to see this kind of map laid out of places to go, and even in the book, the characters acknowledge that it's not the best map, but we'll give it a go. And of course, we're on this quest to find hidden treasure, to find a person, and to see what we come across along the way. And this is set in Africa, so we meet a lot of people who are local. And, you know, the language is a bit dated. There are some issues by today's standards to this, but it is a lost adventure story, and it's from the early 20th century. So highly enjoyable. I am looking forward to reading She. I was told that that one is a lot better, and it's very different. And there's a female character that's pretty intriguing and mystical in some way. So I am really looking forward to continuing with this author. Another book that I flew through was called Ramses, the Son of Light by Christian Jack. This is a very kind of quiet historical fiction about the time of Ramses, and Moses is in it too, and we get to see how Ramses would have grown up, the challenges he would have come across as he was preparing to become Pharaoh. And it's funny because I know that some of the language has been lost in translation. Like, I can't guarantee that this isn't a lot better in the original. There's something about this that felt like a professor was sitting you down and telling you about Ramses with like a slideshow, while the professor sort of takes a pause to explain things to you along the way. And in many ways, this was kind of a great start to my Egyptomania sort of challenge, because I am a newbie to all this and I would like someone to hold my hand through it. So to give you an example, you know, I think I'm going to be offered an important post in a great harem. And then footnote. In ancient Egypt, the harem was not a gilded cage for beautiful women, but an important economic and cultural institution. End footnote. I then got this book recently called Echoes from the Macabre. Selected stories by Daphne du Maurier, who is one of my absolute favorite authors, and one of the people who loved her work so much was Alfred Hitchcock. So there are a lot of Hitchcock films that are based on her short stories. And I've decided not to read this cover to cover, but to dip into her stories from time to time. And this time I decided to read The Birds. I know that this is a famous film as well by Hitchcock, so I read the story. I haven't watched the movies. None of them, really. So I am probably going to try to do that this October. This short story is following a couple, and they start to notice that the birds are acting strange. And we first get a glimpse, and then it gets deeper and deeper and creepier. And it's kind of a mood. It's kind of psychological in some way. It's fascinating the way she sets this very intense atmosphere and mood. Like, it's something that very few people have achieved, but Daphne du Maurier is definitely one of them. First half, you're also wondering how much is going on in a person's head versus reality, or what this character is choosing to focus on. So that's always fascinating. It's got that sort of yellow wallpaper vibe. And the last book that I read was due to my live stream with Roy, where Roy mentioned to me that actor Marlon Brando wrote a pirate novel, like a pirate adventure or an adventure out at sea. And this book is called Fan Tan. I read it in the last 2 days and it was not what I expected. We followed this white man who starts off in prison and he describes prison life, and he breaks out and then he's a pirate out at sea, and we have a lot of East Asian politics and influence and people. Obviously, just like the Haggard story, there's a lot of things that are dated, a lot of language that's dated, but it wasn't very exciting. I don't know, there was something sort of lacking in this one, but it was kind of a light, sort of pulpy, fun kind of book. Now, I think the intention behind this book was to turn it into a movie, which then got canceled. You can tell that it was kind of intended for TV. There's something there that isn't quite descriptive enough in a way that was sufficient. But, you know, dipping in and out of pulps and dated things, it's been kind of fun to see the trajectory that things have taken in the past. But yeah, I didn't know that Marlon Brando wrote fiction, so that was pretty cool. At one point in the book, the main character says, "I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse." That's it for now, but I will be checking in very soon, and I'll see you all in a future video. Bye!